Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the East Mediterranean Business Culture Alliances, known as EMBCA, the Hellenic Language Identity, Continuity, and the American Diaspora panel discussion. My name is Lou Katsos, EMBCA's president, and I will be moderating today's discussion. Our distinguished panel includes Hellenic community leader Dimitrios Jim Logothetis, recently named chairman of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and outgoing chairman of Leadership 100. Educator Demosthenes Triantafillou, founding and first principal of St. Dimitrios High School. Author, Educator Aggeliki Mastromichalaki, PhD. Educator, author Dimitra Patronidou, PhD. Acting Coordinator of Education at the Consulate General of Greece in New York. And educator community leader Peter Stavrianidis, PhD. As we gather on the eve of International Greek Language Day, we are called to do more than celebrate historic achievement. We are called to take stock. The Hellenic language, one of the oldest and continuously spoken and written languages, has carried philosophy, faith, science, poetry, and democratic thought across thousands of years. Greek Language Day stands as a global recognition of that legacy. But it also confronts us with a pressing question. What kind of future will this language have in the American diaspora? Across generations in the United States, we are experiencing a gradual but undeniable erosion of Hellenic language use. This decline is visible on every level, within the home, in parishes and afternoon schools, in day schools, and increasingly at the university level, where modern Greek programs face declining enrollments, reduced institutional support, and in some cases, elimination. Fewer students arrive at college with meaningful exposure to the Hellenic language, and fewer institutions are positioned to sustain advanced study without strong community engagement. This is not simply a linguistic issue, it is a challenge to cultural continuity, historical consciousness, and intergenerational transmission. The pressures are real and multifaceted. Instructional time has diminished. Academic and extracurricular demands on students has intensified. English dominates public life, media, and professional advancement. As a result, many younger Hellenic Americans encounter Greek primarily as a symbol of identity rather than as a living, spoken language. When a language is no longer spoken, its worldview, nuance, and cultural memory begin to fade with it. And yet, this is a moment not one of loss, it is also one of possibility. Interest in Hellenic civilization, Orthodox Christianity, philosophy, and classical foundations remain strong, often attracting non-heritage learners to the Hellenic language for the first time. Technology has transformed access, allowing the Hellenic language to be taught beyond traditional classrooms through digital platforms, hybrid models, and transnational collaboration. Universities, when partnered with communities and philanthropic leadership, can reimagine Hellenic studies as interdisciplinary, contemporary, and globally relevant. Heritage learners, when supporting early and consistently, can reclaim fluency rather than simply inheritance. Language is inseparable from identity, but it is also dynamic. The future of the Hellenic language in America will not look exactly like the past. It will require adaptation, innovation, and renewed commitment. Families, churches, schools, universities, and community organizations each play a vital role in creating environments where the Hellenic language is not only remembered, but spoken, studied, and lived. This evening, or this afternoon here in America, we will not seek to offer or obtain a single solution or a predetermined roadmap. Instead, we have invited a distinguished panel of educators, scholars, and community leaders to reflect honestly and thoughtfully on the challenges we face and the opportunities before us. Our hope is that this conversation and others that follow will reaffirm the Hellenic language not merely as an academic subject or an ethnic marker, but as a shared cultural inheritance and a living bridge between generations, capable of renewal through collective responsibility and coordinated action on many levels. I'd like to introduce our first panelist. It's good friend Dimitrios Jim Logothetis, who was recently appointed chairman of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, as I mentioned, effective actually on February the 16th, serving to a term through October of 20. I've got 2030. I'm not sure if that's true, Joe.
No, it is true.
It is true?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. And also, he's retired from Ernst & Young after a distinguished 40-year career culminating as vice chairman of global accounts. During nearly 3 decades as a partner, he served as lead audit partner for numerous public companies, including several Fortune 500 firms, and held senior leadership roles across the United States and Europe. He also served as a senior advisor to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, leading audit coordination for Ginnie Mae. A respected Hellenic community leader, Mr. Logothetis is the outgoing chairman of Leadership 100, an archon of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, and has served on the boards of numerous academic, philanthropic, and cultural institutions. He is the recipient of the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. Born in a village of Karatula in Arcadia, Mr. Logothetis immigrated to the United States at age 13. He holds a BS in accountancy from DePaul University and an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. A CPA and CMA, he exemplifies an American immigrant success story. Mr. Logothetis and his wife, Marianthi, have 3 children and 10 grandchildren, and divide their time between Chicago, Florida, and Alas. Welcome, Jim, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Lou. It wasn't necessary to go through all of that, but I really appreciate it.
Thank
The
you.
most important thing that you said from all of that bio is that we have been blessed, my wife and I, with 10 grandchildren, ranging in ages from 3 to 14. And to connect to what we're going to talk about today is all 10 of them are attending the Hellenic American Academy, one of the 4 remaining day Greek schools in Chicago. And our daughter, who I had breakfast with this morning, serves as the executive director of that school. A school that used to be part of a church 10 years ago. The church closed it, and I was able, raising money to save the school. It's thriving with 150 students in the day school, about 200 students in the Saturday school, and so many other programs that we have there. And you mentioned, Lou, you articulated, you explained the issue very, very clearly and in a very comprehensive manner. There's not a whole lot more than I can say, although I will tell you, as a numbers guy, I have exhaustively looked at the numbers in terms of our schools, in terms of people that speak the language, and so on and so forth. All the numbers back up exactly what you articulated. I have served until now. I will resign because of my new role effective next week from the role of chairing the Committee of the Archdiocese for Greek Education. What I have learned, and I've done this for 40-some years now, serving at various levels, but always with a focus on Greek education. All the issues you talked about, I've come to the conclusion that there's 3 things that are critical and can need to be done within the next 10 years, or all of this will be academic and theory, and our Hellenic identity in America will be a footnote in the history of immigration to the United States. We are at the very last moments, the very last few years, and we have to have a sense of urgency unlike anything in the past. And we need to be extremely united in our purpose and our resolve to make something happen, because right now there's a lack of movement. So in my judgment, there's 3 things that are critical. The first and most important thing is in America today, we have, many of you know, we have over the last few years formed something called the Bartholomew Patriarchal Fund. It has about 25 million in cash or receivables. We have Leadership 100. I just completed my second 2-year term last night, and we have about $125 million in Leadership 100. Leadership is primarily for the Archdiocese. For those of you that have looked at the numbers, as much as I have tried, over $85 million of grants over the years, less than $500,000 has gone to Greek education. The Bartholomew Fund is for the Patriarch. The Leadership Fund is for the Archdiocese. Okay. And then more recently, as you know, there has been a resurgence of something called the Hellenic Initiative. I was a member of that early on when it was formed for different reasons. Now, as I understand it, I was with the executive director last night, Mike Menatos. It's for the purpose of helping Greece in not-for-profit areas, startups, and things like that. The bottom line is, as I've been explaining all night yesterday, and I've lost my voice, to anybody that can listen to me, there is no fund, zero, in the United States, no endowment fund of any kind for Hellenic education. You all know, without investments, without money, the rest of it is academic, to use that phrase. So first and foremost, we need to set up an endowment fund of a substantial amounts in the next 10 years. I know I throw out numbers and people laugh at it, but I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to sustain the schools that we have, the programs that we have, and to build new ones. That's number one. The second thing is we need to have finally some sort of an association, an organization that pulls together all these efforts. We continue, perhaps because of our Greek heritage and all of that, to work autonomously. Every organization, every initiative across the country, whether it's charter schools, private schools like the one that I have, or parochial schools, they don't talk to one another or hardly talk to one another. We need an association. Put together the legal aspects of this, and hopefully I will introduce them sometime soon. I actually have a name which we don't have to carry, but something I call THEMA, the Hellenic Educational Movement in America. We need a movement. This is the time to set up a movement because we have the benefit of the government in certain states and federal pushing and advancing let's say, charter schools and other individual efforts. There's even something in the tax law that most people don't even pay attention to. But under the recent law that was passed in the United States, every individual in the United States, every taxpayer can put in $1,600, I believe, or $1,800 per year, deducted from their income taxes. It's a direct credit, and put it towards an educational institution. It can very well be our schools, charter schools, private schools, whatever. So we have that benefit. So we need an association so that we can all work together, and we need to share resources because we have situations where there's not enough use or not enough availability of resources. And number three, we need finally, I've tried for years and years. I've talked to everybody, including yesterday, the last 2 days, to the president of Hellenic College, Holy Cross. Somehow, between a university in America, I suppose it could be Holy Cross or Hellenic College, or a university in Greece, or a combination thereof, we need to produce teachers for our Greek programs and our Greek language. I talked to my daughter this morning. We have the Greek school of 150 kids. Dimitra Patronidou, I think you're familiar with that. For years and years, we've been looking for teachers for this program, and we were one of the largest in Chicago. And finally, this past year, we received one who teaches kindergarten. We don't have teachers. For our teachers, the lady that runs the program and 3 Greek teachers that we have used to be Apospasmeni, then they stayed over. The typical situation is not enough. In the Chicago area, public schools and private high schools would love to have Greek teachers teach the Greek language instead of Italian or Spanish or whatever. There are no teachers available. There's only one high school in the entire metropolis of Chicago that offers Greek, and that's something called Loyola Academy, a college preparatory school, where hopefully our oldest granddaughter, finishing up the Hellenic American Academy, will attend in September. It's a fantastic school, but it's only one high school. So when I look across, and I visited the charter schools in Florida, in fact, last year, this time, I visited most of them with Kyria Manolidou. Some of you know her. She's the wife of Minister Yuriadis. She teaches ancient Greek and all of that. Uh, I've gone to most of the schools. I went to Socrates Academy in Charlotte recently, where they're expanding to high school. Uh, all of these are not possible. The future is going to be zero, bleak, if there's no teachers. If you have teachers, if you have an association that allocates these resources and deals with a coordinator for one time, not 20 times, 20 different schools, okay, or whatever we have. And if you have the money, we have a chance, not for sure. If those three combinations are not developed and implemented in a matter of in the next few months, few years, we're done. Okay. The Greek government, I talk to every summer I go to Greece. I talk to whoever I can get a minister I can talk to. Unfortunately, I love Greece. We have two homes there. I'm in love with Greece, even though I came to America when I was very young. But it is not a priority for the Greek government. Okay, and I appreciate everything that they do with a few teachers that they do. The Greek government needs to clearly understand that there is no better need, no better urgency, no more important agenda item in the United States, and I'm sure it's true all over the world, than Greek teachers for our programs. This idea that I know is getting a lot of attention, a lot of traction about representative having three people represent us in the parliament and all of that means virtually nothing to me, and it's totally irrelevant. And I don't care what people think about this. It's, if anything, it's negative because it will divide the country once again, us in America. But if the teachers don't become the number one priority of the Greek state, of the of Hellenic state, and we don't reciprocate, we don't want teachers just to be paid by the Greek government. The American public, the Greek Americans in America have plenty of money. They need to be paying for these teachers. They need to be at least paying the second, whatever we call it, the epimistoma. But those are the three things that we have to do. I'm very passionate about because I see my 10 grandkids, they go to this school, they love it. Everything about it is fantastic. Okay, I never thought this would ever happen, would even be possible. But at the same time, while my granddaughter is graduating in eighth grade, I'm not even sure that by the time the young one from preschool over the next few years will be able to attend this school, primarily because we don't have the Greek teachers and we don't have enough funding. And I'll close by saying that we have our gala coming up on the 14th of March. I go out every year, I've done it for years since this became an independent school, and raise $400,000 to pay for the building and the building expenses. All the other expenses are covered by tuition. So those are my thoughts. And I'm desperately trying to find people in Greece that will reciprocate and take the mantle up and make this a priority. I've started talking to people about raising the endowment fund. I have several, and I'm not talking about raising 5,000 and 10,000. I'm asking people to put in $10 million and such to get to $100 million soon. Those are the things that I think about. Those are things I'm going to focus on now that I'm done with leadership and the church, because I've been involved with the church for 40 years. My focus is going to be on Hellenic education and culture. And of course, my job in Washington. And lastly, I'm hoping that my job in Washington will allow me the opportunity to leverage that role, not only in terms of, let's say, political connections and helping out, but also in terms of advancing education in America. I'm sorry, Lou, if I went too long. I don't have
No,
much
you
more
didn't. You didn't
time.
go. You didn't go long enough. No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
so those are my thoughts, there's no more time left for planning. There's no more time left for discussion. We need to get traction, and we need to get action, and we need to get the right people to step up. Thank you so much. Lou, I appreciate everything you're doing. This is
No. Thank you, Jim. And quite frankly, you've obviously been thinking about this for years and actually have taken action with this. The concept of setting up an association, organization, united, etc. Having the appropriate number of teachers, raising the appropriate money. This is an amazing scenario. So you're saying that you're actively going to pursue this, and you've been talking to a lot of people, from what I've gathered, in terms of other organizations, large organizations that have significant funds, but apparently that those funds are not geared at all towards.
No, we're not going to get it from any funds. These are going to have to come from individuals that are going to step up and say, this Hellenism, our language and culture, is just as important as the church. And it will help the church in the process. And it will help Greece, because the most important money that Greece can spend is to educate the core group of people that are the believers, so to speak, all right? Us, the Greeks, first, second, third, fourth generation. By extension, the non-Greeks. All this boom in tourism that we have now in Greece, and hopefully will continue, that they should not be spending any money on advertising for tourism. They should be spending all the money and sending us teachers, working very closely, of course, with the coordinators that we need here.
Excellent. Thank you for that presentation, Jim.
Thank you.
So it's always a
Thank you,
pleasure
Lou.
for you to be around.
Our next
panelist is Demosthenes Triantafillou. He's a pioneer in Hellenic American education. He's a philosopher and institution builder whose life work has shaped Hellenic education in the United States. A graduate of New York University with degrees in philosophy and classics, and a holder of MS in school administration and supervision from Fordham University. He is a licensed school district supervisor, principal, and teacher. His academic work includes research at Columbia University on American Philhellenism and the Hellenic Revolution of 1821. Mr. Triantafillou has realized his Greek-American dream as the founding principal of St. Dimitrios High School in Astoria, the first Hellenic Orthodox high school in America, where he designed and implemented the 5-year plan, which led to its establishment and growth. He later founded the first bilingual licensed pre-K center in Astoria, the Demosthenes Academy Tutoring Center, and the first Greek afternoon junior high school in the United States. He served for over 3 decades as principal in Hellenic and American secondary education, including leadership roles in the New York Public Schools and Stuyvesant High School. A founder of multiple educational and cultural institutions, including the Greek American Academy of Philosophy, Science, and Education, and the American Institute for the Dionysos Studies. He has also led more than 20 summer study programs in Hellas. His scholarly and educational publications includes curricula, books, and more than 38 articles on Hellenic education in America. He is a former president of the Greek Teachers Association, Prometheus, and the founder of the Greek Teachers Pension Fund. Through philosophy and institutional building, Demosthenes Triantafillou stands as one of the most influential architects of Hellenic education in the American diaspora. Welcome, Demosthenes, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate Mr. Logothetis. In a way, he stole some of the ideas that I had prepared in my speech. Mr. Logothetis, how did you know that I was thinking in the same way?
Sorry about that, but I like it that you're thinking.
Two brilliant gentlemen, that's why.
It's so challenging, so provoking, everything that Mr. Logothetis expressed. One very simple question, it doesn't have to be answered. Could we use, let's say, 10% or 5% of the existing organizations that you mentioned, the two, as a down payment for the new foundation, so at least we can show to the people that here we are putting $10 million in. Let's come in and help us out. Can strategically follow something like that, Mr. Logothetis?
No, it's out of the question. Their objectives and their interests are different. I have tried that in the background consistently. The answer is no. We have to go to individuals. I have already started the process. I have commitments from at least a couple. Last night I spoke to another one. They're all very wealthy people. We need to get the heavy hitters to step up and help us build $100 million in a matter of several years and hopefully reach much more in the next 10 years.
I agree with you 100%. And second question, you mentioned something to start preparation, certification of Greek teachers. When Archbishop Elpidophoros came, we met him in July of 2019, and we gave him a memorandum of 10 points. One of the points was to establish a pedagogical 2-year program for the training and certification of Greek American teachers to teach all over the United States. And we proposed Queens College in New York, where there is already a center, a museum, an oral archive center already there. In other words, the background, the foundations are already there. So I would say, if you are not aware of that, please come in contact with Professor Alexiou, who is in charge of the museum and the history of the Greek American project, to see if we can work, if you can explore a possibility. Because in my opinion, the investment in the college in Boston did not bring the results anticipated, and the reason.
Here's what I would say. I would say that I don't mean to speak for the Archbishop or any of those people you mentioned. I'm willing to take on the responsibility as soon as I sort of transition on my job, so over the next few months, to build the endowment. Okay. I'm also going to work with my daughter, who's the executive director at our school, to work with other principals, executive directors, other schools to start putting together an association of Hellenic schools and programs. But when it comes to training the teachers, that's not my area of expertise. I don't have the time. I would suggest, like everything else, if nobody takes ultimate responsibility to get up every morning and say, what are we going to do about it? Work very closely, of course, with our coordinators and the Greek government. We need somebody in America who is going to take over this responsibility, work with the Archdiocese, work with the Zemines, work with Hellenic College, work with Greece to bring this to fruition. And also, my view is 1 or 2, I'm not thinking in the interim, yes, a certificate would be worthwhile, but I'm thinking of all the young people in America, our people even, let's say the Greek American community, that have the interest to become teachers. My granddaughters want to be teachers, okay? What's wrong with finding a way to train them in America in some institution for 4 years and then send them to Greece, for example, for an extra year? We do that with the priests all the time. Or have an exchange program. I served as chairman of the board for the American College of Greece, or DD College, for 3 years, 9 years altogether. We bought a fantastic private grammar school. There's opportunities, elementary school in Greece. There's opportunities like that, but somebody has to take the lead. It cannot be simply left to one meeting to the other and one idea to the other. Somebody needs to step up in America, work with our colleagues, and get that done. Without teachers, the rest of it, how can I go, when I go to leadership, I'm sorry to go on too much, when I make the pitch to bring in new leadership, in my 4-year term, we brought in 320 new members at $100,000 a member. Our pitch is very simple. If you want priests in America, there's only one place you get them, and that's Hellenic College Holy Cross. We from leadership pay all of their tuition. What is wrong? I mean, my view is that we would have the fund that I'm trying to create is going to do the same. Pay these young people tuition to go to a university, Greece or Hellenic College or whatever, Queen's College, whatever it might be, to get a degree in education. And just like the priests get a degree in theology and then go on to Greece for some additional training, including learning the language, it's the same model. But I can't do it on my own. So coming out of this, I hope that somebody who is an educator, who understands administration, can work to lead that part of the effort. What happens, with all due respect, Professor, what happens is a lot of these things get diluted. You know, what you're talking about in terms of the archdiocese, let's not forget the archdiocese, so many other issues, challenges to deal with. And it's not going to happen as a second or third or fourth or a fifth item.
Demosthenes, if you can, please proceed with your presentation. We've got 3 other speakers. And we'll come back to these things. We'll come back to them.
Thank you, Mr. Elias. I'm honored and humbled to be with you today as a member of the panel of distinguished compatriots whom our chairman, Mr. Elias Katsos, put together to honor the International Day of the Hellenic Greek language. From Homer to Odysseus Elitis, the Greek language has been the instrument that converts the intelligible to perceptible, to noito se aisthito. The Greek language, the Logos, has been revealing our feelings and our ideas, what is in our psyche, psyche, and what is in our mind, nous. The Greek language describes, explains, and predicts reality better than many other languages. The grammatical and syntactical structure of the Greek language reflects a logical and mathematical structure. And since the universe is mathematical, our language describes it more accurately. Example, in English we say, the teacher is in the next room. Do you understand if the teacher is male or female? The answer is no. There is no way to distinguish the gender by one article used in the English language. Let's go to the Greek description. Ο δάσκαλος είναι στο άλλο δωμάτιο. When you say that, you know that ο δάσκαλος, the teacher, is male because of the syntactical use of the article o. Or if you say η δασκάλα είναι στο άλλο δωμάτιο, you automatically know that the teacher is a female. This is a very small example, but I have a list of many examples. Homer is the father of epic poetry. Hippocrates, the father of medicine. Democritus, the father of atomic energy. Herodotus, the father of history. The pre-Socratic natural philosophers, the founding fathers of the scientific thinking. Socrates, the father of humanism. Plato, the father of education with his dialogues. Aristotle, the father of logic, psychology, and the best definition of truth. The list is longer, but how do we know all the above? What has helped me express these ideas? We know that through language, our language creates historical memory, builds our identity, and creates our cultural heritage. I consider this the most important contribution of any language, and more specifically our language. Therefore, it is imperative to make our support of the Greek language and the Greek schools a priority. Here we come to what Mr. Logothetis said. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a priority all these years since the first Greek school was built in New York City in 1912. Ladies and gentlemen, the first Greek school, day school, was founded in 1912 in Bronx, the Greek American Institute. Now, the first Greek American day school in America was founded in Boston, the second in Chicago, and the third in New York City. But in New York City, the Bronx is the first day school in New York City. we need to look at all the budgets. And for future planning, we have to manipulate our budget, no matter what the organization is, to strategically cover the expenses of the Greek education. From my experience, I can go on and develop different themes and topics, but at this meeting, I would like to concentrate only on one aspect of the Greek American education, and that has to do the decline in enrollment, the reduction of the students who enroll in the Greek American schools. Now, don't forget, there were 6 day schools in New York City that closed the last 20 years, 6. And from 10, we have only 4 left. I'm not going into the reasons. I'm just describing the fact. So what is the problem with the decrease of enrollment in our schools? How can we solve these problems? Through my experience, I'm going to share with you very briefly a number of points that the principals, the school boards, the ecclesiastical councils, parish councils, and all the organizations can consider which ones can apply to their own situation. Number 1, create pre-kindergartens with well-trained and certified bilingual teachers in every community if it's possible. That's a must, the foundation of educational system. Number 2, organize trips to Greece in the summer of the graduates of the Greek afternoon school. There is nothing better to honor the students who attend Greek schools and for 6 or 8 years and graduate. What do they give them? How do we recognize this achievement? There is no mechanism of honoring and recognizing this achievement. So I'm proposing this, something that as a director of the Greek office in the metropolis of New Jersey, I suggested this to His Eminence Metropolitan Apostolos, that have the metropolis set up a system to organize trips of the graduates of the afternoon school to Greece for 3 weeks. Create more junior high schools. My God, there is only one junior high school with grade 7, 8, and 9, and graduation in the 9th grade in the metropolitan area. Connecticut, New Jersey, New York State. Incredible. Why is that so? Why aren't the communities creating junior high schools? The only high school, as I mentioned, is in the Ascension community in Fairview, where I was a principal for 31 years. I retired last year. And the junior high school, 7, 8, and 9, was founded in 2006 and has been operating up to now. Create more junior high schools in different communities. 4, create more day schools. We don't have day schools in certain states where the number of new residents, Greek American residents, has increased. Long Island, New Jersey. I have spoken with the Metropolitan, Metropolitan Apostolos. We have found some locations. The most important thing is the location. New Jersey, Paramos may be one suggested location. I'm not sure about Long Island. Let's move on. Create more Greek American high schools. Why do we have only one high school? I started the 9th grade when I was a principal at St. Dimitrios. I completed the 9th grade in 1979. We started the 9th grade in 75, and the first 12th grade was graduated in 1979. 50 years have passed. 1975 was the first 9th grade. Now we just finished 2025, 50 years. There hasn't been one additional high school anywhere I don't want to go into the details, but I'm just proposing here different suggestions to increase the number of students in the Greek American schools. Create more Saturday schools, following the example of an excellent school complex at our Church of Our Savior in Rye. I recommend all of you to visit, make arrangements with Father Elias. I was there, the principal, for 15 years. I retired 2 years ago. Visit that particular community. They have the best facility for an afternoon or Saturday school. They have an outdoors playground for the lower grades. They have a facility outside for soccer, for athletics. Amazing setup. I would like people to visit and see what it is. Make the lesson more pleasant. How do you make the lesson more pleasant to attract more parents and more students? One way is to incorporate Greek American history. It's about time that we incorporate in our curriculum in all the schools of the diaspora the local history of the Greek American communities. It's a crime. I always get into trouble in Greece every summer. There is no one edra. There's no one course in any Greek American university that teaches the diaspora, the history of Greek American immigration. Amazing. So let's make certain that in the curriculum here, we also include the history of the Greek American. We have a historian, Dr. Constantine Dimitrios, who has written many books. He's an expert, and he can help us start this project and help all the educators. I may also say, I present this to you for the first time. I don't know if you can see it. This is a book that I published with the title. I have 3 Philhellenes in the front, but the title of the book is American Involvement in the Greek Revolution of 1821, Beginning of American Philhellenism. And it's published by the Greek American Academy of Philosophy, Science, and Education, November 22, 1225. I'm going to share it with Elias because I think working with Elias, we can promote this idea and present something through you to the Greek American community in New York City. So what else can we incorporate in the curriculum to attract more students? Sports, athletics. There are afternoon schools that don't teach any sports. Every school that I worked, and we incorporated the sports, athletics, 15 minutes. Practice in soccer, Olympic Games, throwing the javelin, throwing the spear, running 50 yards, and so on. It modifies the quality of the curriculum. Create a library. Every Greek school should have a library with modern, contemporary books for the students. Incorporate the teaching of Greek theater in the upper grades. Many schools, some schools do teach the Greek tragedy or Greek theater, but they do it after school. If they can incorporate that into the curriculum during the school hours, it will be much more beneficial. Use the Ellinoma, the textbooks. We have excellent textbooks. I won't mention them all. We have the Margarita, Matheno Ellinika, the Archdiocese, Dr. Efthymiopoulos. We have the Ellinomathia. The teachers, according to their needs, can choose. But I recommend the Ellinomathia so that we can attract more teachers, because the Ellinomathia is also recognized by many universities, as you are going to hear from the coordinator later on. But the Ellinomathia books by them are elliptical. They don't do justice to the cultural component and the religious component of our culture. It's basically written for students to learn the language per se, not the culture. And therefore, A school that uses the Ellinomathia textbook should use supplementary books for history, religion, and geography, so the parents can see a more holistic curriculum. Incorporate speaking component, add conversation component for 15 minutes about everyday topics.
Did you mind just 1 second? I need to leave, and I need to make one point. I'm
Yes.
sorry. And the point is this. We at Leadership 100 financed a project which is coming to be published in the next few weeks, I suppose. And that topic was to conduct a study to get to the first point you mentioned, which is the point that's critical here, and that is enrollment. Why has enrollment declined in the Greek schools? And the answer, I got a preview last night. The answer is not a surprise, but critical in this discussion. And the answer is that parents will not send their kids to a day Greek school, whether it's elementary or high school, if the quality of education is not what they perceive it to be.
Yes.
And since you all know as educators that the quality of education is directly tied to the teachers, the sophistication and expertise of the teachers, the average teacher in the Greek schools in America makes $5,000 a year, and the average school in a nearby suburb or public school makes at least double, if not triple of that. So if it's all ties down to the teachers and money, as it relates to the afternoon schools and the Saturday schools, and of course, I totally agree with everything that the educator, Mr. Triantafillou, explained here. How can you not? There's a lack of good teachers to teach in the afternoon schools. And most, based on my experience and with the discussion I even had last night with many parents here, is that unfortunately, and please don't misunderstand me, I'm at the same page as you. I want to do the right thing. Most of the afternoon or part-time programs in America are completely useless. The kids go there for socialization, and when they get out, they speak no Greek. They may understand the culture, they may like the dancing, they may like playing basketball with their friends, but they don't speak and they don't converse. And a lot of it has to do with the teachers. We don't have the teachers that we require. We don't have the money to pay the teachers to improve the quality, to get enrollment up, and we don't have the teachers to teach effectively. If we had those two components, I'm sure we can find the right books and the right methodology to teach them. So I appreciate your time. I'm so sorry that I took too much time. I'm sorry that I have to leave.
Jim, I hope we had more time.
But those are at the end of the day, those are the things that will make a difference. The study is going to be published. You will all see it, and it's going to say what we expected.
Jim,
we need money to pay the teachers to improve quality, to get enrollment up.
Yeah, hold on.
Lou, I need 30 seconds.
Hold on, guys, because Jim has to leave. Let me say one thing. I totally agree with you. I mean, I have to say on a personal level, we took our grandchildren, or our children took our grandchildren out of schools because they didn't have the appropriate education, let's say, or the appropriate teachers, etc. And they went to private schools so they can get better education. There is no doubt that if the Hellenic parent has a Hellenic school that has that type of, let's say, higher education that is required, they will absolutely send their children to those schools.
Lou, one example quickly is our granddaughter, the oldest, the one I mentioned, okay? She, in this little school of 150 kids, but we have dedicated teachers. We're doing a lot of good things. She just placed in all honors classes at Loyola Academy and Deerfield High School nearby. The possibility exists. I always felt guilty having my kids send their kids or my grandkids to the school, but it's paying off. It's possible. It's possible, but we have to focus on those things, in my judgment. Thank you, Lou, for everything you do.
Thank you. And before you leave, one thing, we need an association. We need the teachers to be trained, and we need money.
Lou, can I say
Jim, thank you.
Can I say something before Jim leaves? Jim, I want to commend you for your passion, for your dedication, and for your willingness to tell it like it is. The sad thing is, most unfortunately, and I've been in this business of Hellenic education for almost 50 years. So you can understand what I'm talking about, and it's prompting me, although my educational background is business and numbers like you, at one point to embark in a doctoral dissertation in the social sciences in order to get not only the qualitative, but also the quantitative part of it. And I hope you could stay, but sometime in the future, you can see and count me in everything that you do. Please count me in, because I spend thousands of hours on this topic, which would be the core of my short description.
Yeah,
So,
I look forward to collaborating with all of you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, and like I said, my legacy going forward, hopefully I'll do a good job in public service and make a difference, but most in my profession, the accounting profession. But more importantly, I hope that my legacy is helping do exactly what you're all talking about. We just need to bring it to life.
Yeah, Mr. Logothetis, just my last point was, I'm reading it out to you, hiring the right teachers to give the qualitative teaching that is needed in our Greek schools. And then I recommend that we work with the Queen's College to create a pedagogical for the training and certification of Greek teachers. So that was my last point, but you covered me. So I'm going to stop there by just repeating what the German philosopher said, Goethe: we all are children of Greece. Let us not forget of that.
Thank you, Demosthenes. Thank you. Our next panelist is Aggeliki Mastromichalaki. She was born on the island of Chios in the northern Aegean, where the sea and landscape shaped her literary and philosophical sensibility. She studied pedagogy, psychology, and philosophy, and holds a PhD in philosophy from the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, with a lifelong focus on education, language, and identity. She served for many years in Hellenic public education, including 10 years as a primary school principal. She is the academic director of the Greek language learning platform, Ellinopoula.com, supporting Greek language learning in Hellas and throughout the diaspora. She is the author of numerous children's books, both literary and educational. A key milestone in her work is My Roots, taught to Hellenic children of the Homogenia in both the Hellenic language and English, which help connect language with heritage and belonging. Many of her books are published in English and used in the United States, Canada, and Australia. She has also contributed literary and scholarly texts to collective volumes. She has served as General Secretary of the Greek section of IBBY, International Board of Books for Young People, and is deeply committed to fostering a love of learning and reading. She regularly meets readers in schools, parishes, and book festivals across Hellas, Cyprus, Europe, and the United States. She is also affiliated with happywriters.org. Welcome, Aggeliki, and thank you for being with us live from Athens.
Thank you. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Εγώ θα μιλήσω ελληνικά. Είναι η μέρα της ελληνικής γλώσσας αύριο και χαίρομαι. Ευχαριστώ πολύ, Λου, για την πρόσκληση και από άλλη μια φορά είμαστε μαζί και κοντά. Θα σας παρουσιάσω κάτι διαφορετικό που αφορά μία πλατφόρμα που έχουμε δημιουργήσει εδώ και 10 χρόνια ακριβώς, που αφορά λέγεται Ελληνόπουλα. Είναι μια καινοτομία στη διδασκαλία της ελληνικής γλώσσας και η αγάπη και η αγωνία για την ελληνική γλώσσα. Εδώ και 40 χρόνια είμαι στην εκπαίδευση. Έχει φέρει αυτή την συνεργασία με την οικογένεια που έφτιαξε τα Ελληνόπουλα με έδρα την Καλιφόρνια. Άρα λοιπόν είναι Έλληνες της Διασποράς, είχαν αυτή την ιδέα, συνεργαστήκαμε από την αρχή και 10 χρόνια δουλεύουμε πάνω στα Ελληνόπουλα. Μια καινοτομία στη διδασκαλία της ελληνικής γλώσσας. Γιατί πολύ σωστό, όπως είπαν οι προλαλήσαντες, υπάρχουν δυσκολίες. Και επειδή 3 μέρες παρακολούθησα ένα διεθνές συνέδριο του Κέντρου Ελληνικής Γλώσσας και του ΔΕΛΕΞΟ, χάνεται σιγά σιγά η ελληνική γλώσσα. Μια έρευνα στην Αυστραλία έδειξε ότι ενώ πριν 10 χρόνια ήταν δεύτερη στην κατηγορία στην Αυστραλία, πριν 5 χρόνια ήταν 5η στην κατηγορία και περσινή έρευνα έδειξε ότι τα ελληνικά χάθηκαν από τις 5 σημαντικές γλώσσες που μιλούνται στην Αυστραλία. Οπότε καταλαβαίνουμε τη δυσκολία. Είναι σημαντικό να υπάρχουν οι έδρες ελληνικής γλώσσας, οι καλοί δάσκαλοι βεβαίως, αλλά εμείς θέλουμε να κερδίσουμε τα παιδιά του σήμερα, τα εγγόνια όπως είπατε, τα παιδιά του σήμερα που είναι παιδιά της τεχνολογίας, τα Ελληνόπουλα, τα οποία θέλουμε να μάθουν τη γλώσσα μας, όχι μόνο να χαίρονται τους χορούς, τα φαγητά και τις συνήθειες, τα ήθη, τα έθιμα. Υπάρχουν λοιπόν πολλές δυσκολίες και προσπαθήσαμε να προχωρήσουμε με μια καινοτομία. Υπάρχουν πολλές προκλήσεις και εμπόδια στη σύγχρονη εποχή. Αυξάνεται το ποσοστό των παιδιών που δεν μαθαίνουν ελληνικά για πολλούς λόγους. Είναι οι γενιές όπου οι γονείς είναι 3ης ή 4ης γενιάς. Είναι οι μεικτοί γάμοι οι οποίοι κάνουν να μην μιλάνε ελληνικά μέσα στα σπίτια. Πολλοί άσχολοι γονείς δεν προλαβαίνουν να μιλήσουν με τα παιδιά, δεν προλαβαίνουν να ασχοληθούν. Και εμείς αξιοποιήσαμε τα οπτικά μέσα για να μπορέσουμε να ξεπεράσουμε αυτά τα εμπόδια, να μπορέσουμε να φέρουμε τα παιδιά κοντά στην ελληνική γλώσσα. Υιοθετούμε λοιπόν μια καινοτομία, αλλάζουμε συνήθειες, ενημερώνουμε τις μεθόδους, εμψυχώνουμε τα παιδιά μέσω της πλατφόρμας και των δασκάλων, αγκαλιάζουμε την τεχνολογία και αξιοποιούμε τα σύγχρονα εργαλεία διδακτικής. Έχουμε 3 κατευθύνσεις. Το ένα απευθύνεται σε μαθητές, σε γονείς και δασκάλους. Για τους μαθητές μετατρέπουν τα Ελληνόπουλα την εκμάθηση των ελληνικών σε παιχνίδι μέσα από ψυχαγωγικά βίντεο, παιχνίδια, διαδραστικές ασκήσεις, συναρπαστικά live, διαδικτυακά μαθήματα γεμάτα εκπλήξεις και ενθουσιασμό. Μαθαίνουμε ελληνικά παίζοντας. Υπάρχει ένα δομημένο μάθημα κάθε φορά με το Learning Path που αποτελεί ένα μονοπάτι μάθησης να μάθει το παιδί ελληνικά βήμα-βήμα. Συμπεριλαμβάνει βίντεο, ασκήσεις, quiz, παιχνίδια, δραστηριότητες για να αναπτύξει λεξιλόγιο, τη γραμματική και τη γλωσσική κατανόηση με το σωστό ρυθμό. Καταλαβαίνοντας λοιπόν αυτή την ανάγκη, ταυτόχρονα προσπαθούμε μέσα από την παιχνιδοποίηση να δούμε έτσι ένα μικρό παράδειγμα εδώ.
Δεν ακούμε.
Θα το συνεχίζω λοιπόν με τα εκπαιδευτικά βίντεο που είναι προσομοίωση τάξης. Μπορεί λοιπόν ένα παιδί μόνο του, στο σπίτι, μόνο με την οικογένεια ή και με τα δομημένα μαθήματα με δασκάλους, να μπορέσει μέσα από τα Ελληνόπουλα να μάθει ελληνικά παίζοντας, αλλά και ταυτόχρονα να ακούσει ελληνικά, να μιλάει το ίδιο και να το απαντάει ναι μεν ένα μηχάνημα, γιατί έχουμε αναπτύξει μέσω AI διάφορα συστήματα, άρα να εξασκηθεί στην ομιλία για να μπορέσει να μιλήσει. Ξέρουμε ότι το πρόβλημα είναι ότι τα παιδιά καταλαβαίνουν ελληνικά, δεν μιλάνε ελληνικά και αυτό προσπαθήσαμε να το ξεπεράσουμε. Υπάρχουν θεματικές συλλογές για να είναι ενδιαφέρον το μάθημα. Δεν μπορούμε στα παιδιά του σήμερα που είναι με τα ηλεκτρονικά μέσα και σε μια σύγχρονη εποχή και ιδιαίτερα για την Αμερική και τον Καναδά, γιατί εκεί είναι οι περισσότεροι Έλληνες που στηρίζουμε, να μπορούν μέσα από θεματικές συλλογές, μια εκδρομή σε ένα βουνό, ένα ταξίδι, πάμε στην Ακρόπολη, στους Δελφούς, στην Πλάκα. Έχουμε πολλές συλλογές, τώρα ετοιμάζουμε ένα ταξίδι στην Κνωσό. Μέσα λοιπόν από αυτά τα βίντεο γνωρίζουν την Ελλάδα, πλησιάζουν τον ελληνικό πολιτισμό και καθώς μιλούν με τις Καριάτιδες, μιλούν με ένα ρομπότ, τον Τάλο, ο οποίος ταξιδεύει τα παιδιά στο χώρο-χρόνο και τα φέρνουν πιο κοντά στον ελληνικό πολιτισμό. Μέσα από όλες αυτές τις ιστορίες ενσωματώνουμε τη μυθολογία και την επιστημονική φαντασία Με ταξίδια στο διάστημα, μάλιστα ήταν εντυπωσιακό όταν κάναμε ταξίδια στο διάστημα με τα παιδιά, εντυπωσιάστηκαν τα περισσότερα Ελληνόπουλα σε Αμερική και Καναδά ότι οι πλανήτες έχουν ονόματα ελληνικά. Ο γαλαξίας, η αστρονομία, όλα τα σημαντικά στον πολιτισμό και στην επιστήμη. Ενσωματώνουμε μέσα τη θρησκευτική παράδοση, τα ελληνικά γράμματα και ο πολιτισμός είναι άρρηκτα συνδεδεμένα με τη θρησκευτική παράδοση. Οι μαθητές μας μαθαίνουν για τα Χριστούγεννα, τα Θεοφάνεια, τη γιορτή των Τριών Ιεραρχών, το Πάσχα και άλλες θρησκευτικές γιορτές και παραδόσεις, γιατί συμπορευόμαστε με το αναλυτικό πρόγραμμα σπουδών των σχολείων, άρα ενισχύουμε και τα σχολεία και βοηθάμε να έχουν κάτι διαφορετικό. Οι θεματικές συλλογές τονίζουν την πολιτιστική κληρονομιά. Είναι πολύ σημαντική. Μεταδίδουμε στα παιδιά την πλούσια πολιτιστική μας κληρονομιά με σημαντικό, ζωντανό, διαδραστικό τρόπο μέσα από ελληνικά τραγούδια. Έχουμε τάξεις χορού, δραστηριότητες με θέματα όπως η ελιά, το μέλι, το γάλα, το κρασί. Ταξιδεύουμε τα παιδιά με ζωντανές διαδραστικές πορείες και εκδρομές. Και αυτό βοηθάει να φέρουμε τα Ελληνόπουλα κοντά, να φέρουμε την Ελλάδα κοντά στα Ελληνόπουλα, όπου και αν βρίσκονται στον κόσμο, και χαιρόμαστε πλέον που έχουμε μαθητές μας και στις 5 υπήρους και είναι πολύ σημαντικό για μας. Ταυτόχρονα δίνουμε έμφαση στις εθνικές γιορτές, γιορτάζουμε με τα παιδιά, υπάρχει στην πλατφόρμα, διδάσκουμε και στα μαθήματα για να μπορέσουμε να τα κάνουμε να νιώσουν πραγματικά Ελληνόπουλα και για την 28 Οκτωβρίου και την 25η Μαρτίου, να νιώσουν τα παιδιά και να ζήσουν το πνεύμα και τη σημασία των εθνικών μας γιορτών και της ελευθερίας, της δημοκρατίας, των σημαντικών ενιών του ελληνισμού. Υπάρχουν μαθητικοί έπινοι για την ανατροφοδότηση των παιδιών, ο καλύτερος μαθητής, ο μαθητής του μήνα, ο μαθητής της εβδομάδας. Οι ψηφιακές εκδρομές πραγματικά είναι μοναδικές, γιατί τα παιδιά έχουν ανάγκη να μαθαίνουν λέξεις μέσα από αυτές τις πορείες. Για τους γονείς υπάρχει δυνατότητα να τους εξηγήσουμε, να τους βοηθήσουμε και μόνοι τους να βοηθήσουν τα παιδιά τους στο σπίτι, γιατί όπως λέμε, αν κάθε μέρα 5 λεπτά, 10 λεπτά ασχοληθείς με τα Ελληνόπουλα και μία φορά την εβδομάδα κάνεις ένα καλό μάθημα, μπορεί να βοηθηθεί και να μάθει αγγλικά. Δίνουμε και ελληνομάθεια Α1, Α2, Β1, τα διπλώματα, σε συνεργασία με το Κέντρο Ελληνικής Γλώσσας. Υπάρχει λοιπόν και ένας διαδραστικός πίνακας του γονέα, άρα μπαίνουμε στα σπίτια, βοηθάμε τους γονείς, αν θέλουν, να μπορούν να έχουν την επαφή και τον έλεγχο, τι βλέπουν τα παιδιά τους, μία φορά την εβδομάδα παίρνουν πλήρη αναφορά, πόση ώρα είδαν, τι έπαιξαν, τι διάβασαν, τι άκουσαν. Πλήρη υποστήριξη λοιπόν και με διαδικτυακές επικοινωνίες και συνεδρίες που γίνονται, και επίσης ενισχύουμε και τους δασκάλους. Χαιρόμαστε γιατί έχουμε συνεργασία με πολλά σχολεία στην Αμερική. Κατά διαστήματα έχουμε μπει, θα έλεγα, σε όλα τα μεγάλα σχολεία τα ημερήσια. Χρησιμοποιούν τα Ελληνόπουλα σαν εργαλείο μέσα στις τάξεις για τη γραμματική, το συντακτικό, αλλά και όλες τις εφαρμογές. Προσαρμοζόμαστε στην τεχνολογία, αγκαλιάζουμε την τεχνολογία με σύγχρονα εργαλεία διδασκαλίας. Υπάρχει ένα task board που βοηθάει το δάσκαλο πώς να δρομολογηθεί, πώς να μπορέσει να διδάξει καλύτερα το παιδί, όχι μόνο με το Learning Path, το Collection, το Grammar List και το Homework Builder. Άρα λοιπόν βοηθάμε και το δάσκαλο. Πολύ σωστά είπε ο κύριος Λογοθέτης, χρειάζονται καλή εκπαίδευση των δασκάλων, ενίσχυση και περισσότερους δασκάλους. Νομίζω ότι έχουμε κάνει μια προσπάθεια να βοηθήσουμε σε αυτό. Και πλούσιο οπτικοακουστικό υλικό, με την αργό που ταξιδεύει στο διάστημα και μαθαίνουμε όλο το πλανητικό σύστημα. Έχουμε STEM με τα βήματα, τη νέα μέθοδο, έχουμε τα παιχνίδια στο βυθό. Προσπαθούμε λοιπόν να εμπλουτίσουμε με παιχνιώδη τρόπο ό,τι μπορεί να κάνει ένα παιδί να αγαπήσει τα ελληνικά. Το λεξιλόγιο σε κάθε μάθημα που τελειώνει υπάρχει η μπάρα με τις λέξεις, με την έκφραση των λέξεων. Θέλουμε με τον τρόπο αυτό να στηρίξουμε όσο μπορούμε περισσότερο τα διαδραστικά παιχνίδια που είναι πραγματικά πολύ ευχάριστα για τα παιδιά. Και υπάρχει και μία έκπληξη της εβδομάδας με τον τροχό της τύχης που κάθε φορά ξεκινάει το μάθημα ή τελειώνει. με κάτι ευχάριστο, γυρνώντας στον τροχό της τύχης, μαθαίνουμε για τους Ολυμπιακούς Αγώνες, κάνουμε ένα πείραμα, ασκήσεις γυμναστικής, μαθαίνουμε τα μέρη του σώματος και παίζουμε με τους θεούς του Ολύμπου, τον Οδυσσέα και πολλούς άλλους. Και υπάρχει κάθε μήνα η έκθεση πρόοδου και αξιολόγησης. Μπορεί ο γονέας να το λάβει αυτό για να μπορέσουμε να στηρίξουμε διαδικτυακά σε όλο τον κόσμο την εκμάθηση της ελληνικής για τα ελληνόπουλα της Διασποράς, που η μισή Ελλάδα, όπως λέμε, είναι έξω από την Ελλάδα. Άρα λοιπόν είναι ένα χρέος προσφοράς προς τον ελληνισμό. Και βέβαια υποστηρίζουμε και τους εκπαιδευτικούς μας για να μπορέσουν να ενισχυθούν με πολλά εργαλεία. Τα μαθήματα είναι περίπου 300 δομημένα και περισσότερα, 1000 εκπαιδευτικά βίντεο, 10.000 διαδραστικά παιχνίδια, βίντεο quiz και δραστηριότητες, ευχάριστα, μοντέρνα. Γιατί είναι απαραίτητη αυτή η νέα προσέγγιση? Γιατί ο κόσμος έχει αλλάξει, πρέπει να αλλάξουμε και εμείς για να διατηρήσουμε την ελληνική γλώσσα μας. Και θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστήσω για αυτή τη συνάντηση. Ήμουν λίγο σύντομη γιατί μπορούμε να έχουμε μια μεγαλύτερη συζήτηση όταν ολοκληρωθούν οι εισηγήσεις των συνδετημόνων. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Thank you so much, Aggeliki. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for that very, very nice presentation. Our next presenter and panelist is Dimitra Patronidou. She's a graduate of the Department of Classical Philology at the University of Yanina, holding a master's in education in theory and management of education, a PhD in history and history of education, and a postdoctoral qualification in modern Balkan history. She has 19 years of experience as a philologist in high schools across the Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, and 5 years as head of the Youth Counseling Station at the Directorate of Secondary Education of Drama in Elas. She has served as a postdoctoral researcher and subsequently as an adjunct professor in the Department of Balkan, Slavic, and Oriental Studies. In 2023 to 24, she was second to the high school of Agios Dimitrios in Astoria by the Greek state. And in July of 2024, she assumed the role of director at the Coordinating Office of Education in New York. Fluent in the Hellenic language, English, French, and Bulgarian, she actively contributes to scientific associations and conference committees, and regularly presents at Hellenic and international conferences. Her research is published in scientific journals, focusing on history and history of education. Welcome, Dimitra, and thank you for being with us today.
Καλησπέρα σας. Γεια σας. Hello, Lou. Hello, everybody. Χρόνια μας πολλά για αυτή την τιμή που μας έδωσε η Σαμαρκάνδη. I will talk you about the educational policy of the Greek state regarding the language in United States of America, the Greek language. 5 questions and answers about the Greek language educational policy in US by the Greek state. So, currently, there are 11 education coordinators worldwide. Their responsibilities include the coordination, administration, and supervision of educational units and teaching staff involved in Greek language education abroad. In the United States, where there are no, excuse me, I have to see, the presentation, okay. Where there are no exclusively Greek schools, that it's schools overseen by the Greek Ministry of Education, coordinators supervise only the teaching staff seconded to educational units, coordinate Greek language education initiatives, and collaborate with the authorities of the United States. So, the first coordinator appointed by the Greek state arrived here in New York in 1975, and Mr. Triantafillou was the first who welcomed him. Έτσι, κύριε Triantafillou?
Μάλιστα. Ο κύριος Ιάκωβος Τσαούσης.
Ο κύριος Ιάκωβος Τσαούσης. Now, let us now take a brief look at Greece's educational policy on Greek language education in the United States. So, our first question: how does the Greek state support Greek language education abroad? The Greek state supports Greek language education abroad by assisting students of Greek descent living abroad and students of non-Greek descent who wish to learn the Greek language and culture. And this is exactly the critical point, especially since the revision of the legislation on Greek language education abroad in 2012 and 2016 onwards. The state's effort to promote the Greek language is also directed towards Philhellenism. Question number 2. Which forms of organization of Greek language education are supported by the Greek state, specifically in the United States? So, mainstream schools included those of the archdiocese or charter schools offering bilingual or advanced Greek language programs. Also, Greek language and culture departments, TEG, τμήματα ελληνικής γλώσσας, operating daily in afternoon schools or universities with options for remote or in-person learning. And C, university-level chairs or other organization focused on Greek studies. Question number 3. Support for Greek language educational units abroad. In which ways? Support is provided by the placement of teachers from Greece on secondment, by the provision of books and educational materials, both printed and digital, and finally, by the certificates of attainment in Greek, which are issued to individuals of Greek descent and non-Greeks, of course, by the competent body of the Ministry of Education, namely the Center of the Greek Language, of course, through Ellinomafia exams. In the United States, the Greek language, the Center for the Greek Language, excuse me, let's see first the photos. Here you can see the Center for the Greek Language in Thessaloniki, Karamauna 1, Kalamaria, and now you can see the examination centers all over the world, the examination centers in USA and Canada, and the 34 examination centers all over America. So, in the US, the certification of attainment in Greek is directly linked to the seal of biliteracy. And what is the seal of biliteracy is our fourth question. The seal of biliteracy is an award given by a school, district, or state in recognition of students who have studied and attained proficiency in 2 or more languages by high school graduation. The certificate of before the fifth question, I have to say that the certificate of attainment in Greek has been incorporated into the Seal of Biliteracy program in the following states: the state of New York, of Illinois, Maryland, California, District of Columbia, State of Ohio, State of Delaware, State of Georgia, Indiana, Virginia, North Carolina, New Jersey, and Minnesota. And now, our fifth question. Are we losing ground regarding the use of the Greek language? As has already been emphasized by the previous speakers, the use of the Greek language among individuals of Greek descent in the United States is declining. In this area, we are losing ground. However, we are gaining in another, the growth of Philhellenism, την άνοδο του φιλελληνισμού. Specifically, over the past 3 years, the number of candidates for the Ellinomathia exams in the United States and worldwide has nearly doubled from 5,700 candidates worldwide in 2023. By 2025, we reached 11,254 candidates, of whom 1,470 candidates in the United States. Currently, there are 21 examination centers operating in the United States, and the 22nd is being established in New Jersey the time we speak. I'm confident that more will follow soon. I recognize that the figure of 1,254 seems small, but it refers to only one year and should not be considered in relation to the total population, but rather to the number of individuals learning a foreign language. The fact is that there is less emphasis placed on language learning in the United States than in other parts in the world. Moreover, there is currently a significant opportunity for Greek language education in the United States, and this is charter schools. When a school is converted into a charter school, it is funded at 70% by the state. So, my conclusion. The present context presents an opportunity for the development of Greek language education in the United States. We are certainly losing ground in critical areas, but elsewhere we are gaining. The mosaic is very complex. Greek education is offered to Greek Americans who will remain in the country and not return to Greece, but primarily to a numerically superior group of Philhellenes, who will soon become representative of a small country abroad and who may be able to influence decisions even at international level. So maybe this is not the end, but the beginning of a transformation, and we must stay alert to the social, economic, and pedagogical changes in the United States of America. Thank you very much for your invitation and for your presence. Ευχαριστώ για την υπομονή σας.
Thank you, Dimitra. Let me ask you a question. Out of the other nations where the people are taking this Greek exam, what are the major countries that they come from?
China.
Oh, interesting. China? Mm-hmm.
Yes, Chinese. Love Greek very much. Korean.
Korea.
Yes, and British, English, England.
In England. Very, very interesting. And do they have more people who take the test than the United States?
I have to check, and I'll send you the numbers because
I'm very interested in this. Yeah,
yes.
And the way
I
it
have
seems,
to check. Yeah.
the way it seems to me, China and Korea, these are economic countries, obviously, that deal with, in many cases, in Greece, in particular, China, obviously. I find this very interesting. This is very interesting. Thank you so much for that. And we'll come back to this in a question period. Our next presenter is Peter Stavrianidis, PhD. He's a successful entrepreneur, educator, and community leader. He has served in numerous leadership posts in organizations connected with Hellenic issues of the diaspora and the genocide of Asia Minor. He has served 3 terms as the president of the Pan-Pontian Federation of the U.S. and Canada, and he is currently serving as the president of the Federation of Hellenic Societies of New Jersey. His fields of interest includes the evolution of Greek America, contemporary Hellenic history, and the Asia Minor genocide. Peter occasionally teaches as an adjunct professor in local colleges and universities and has participated in numerous symposia in the U.S. and Greece as a lecturer and panelist. Dr. Stavrianidis is a research associate with the Pantheon University of Athens School of Social and Political Science, and he has been conducting postdoctorate research on the history of Greek Jews with emphasis on their current situation and the challenges they face. Dr. Stavrianidis is also a frequent speaker panelist with EMBCA, and he is a member of our board of directors. Welcome, Peter, Bano, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Lou. By the way, the postdoctorate was submitted a couple of months ago successfully in the Athens. So I just wanted to let you know about this. So let me go to share the screen. Change that. Great. All right. So tonight's topic is both timely and I would say deeply personal, because I've been involved with this topic, as I mentioned before, for close to 50 years. I'm involved with the Greek America, the Greek community. So the title is The Evolution of Greek America in the 21st Century and its Struggle for Survival. Now, not survival in the sense of crisis or fear, but survival in the quiet, everyday sense. Whether the things that we inherited will still be living realities for our children and grandchildren. So, as Greek Americans, we have achieved a lot of things. We have integrated, we have prospered, and we contributed meaningfully to this great country. Yet every successful community eventually faces a question that success itself does not answer. What will remain of us when the immigrant generation is gone? When Greek is no longer spoken at home, when identity becomes occasional rather than daily, when culture is reduced to a festival, a few traditions, and maybe a proud last name. This matters because Greek America is not only an ethnic label, it is a living tradition, a way of seeing the world shaped by language, faith, family, memory, and a unique cultural heritage that has offered something, I would say, valuable to America for more than a century. So tonight, I will focus on the current status of the Greek American community. By the way, the short presentation is based on a doctoral dissertation that I conducted many years ago, and I still update occasionally just to bring it up to date. And the reason that I embarked myself, as I mentioned before, although my initial education is in business and numbers because I was so frustrated as an activist in the Greek community that many times that I raised these questions, especially about language and identity, because you can't have language if you don't have identity. Yes, you can have Philhellenes who want to speak occasionally Greek, but as far as Greek America, first, they have to identify themselves to a lesser or greater extent. We'll talk about it later, that they are Hellenes in order for them to have the desire to learn the language. So let me begin. So when you study a community like Greek America, one thing is we have to establish our theoretical lens. When immigrants integrate, what path do they take? The traditional melting pot model is always predicts complete assimilation, which abandons the ethnic identity in order to become fully American. And then came the multiculturalism, which preserves heritage while participating in American society, and then buries acculturation model, which gives us 4 outcomes: integration, assimilation, separation, or marginalization. I don't have the time to go through these in detail, but this is the theoretical background, το θεωρητικό υπόβαθρο, to say it in Greek, that I followed in order to do my research. So when I decided to do this research, I selected 6 pillars, I would say, that best identify Greek America. Of course, the first one was Greek language. The second one was Greek Orthodox Church. Third, the cultural activities, which of course contains music, the Greek cuisine, and ethnikotopika somatia, and organizations like HEPA. The fourth, the family values, which usually the first and second generation maintain, but it significantly loses its character after the third generation and beyond. The fourth was the Greek connection. How often someone goes to Greece, the motherland, to connect. And the sixth one, the political engagement, what we call, whether the Greek America is involved in politics, about the ethnika themata, national issues, etc. So one of the phenomena that has the greater effect in the process of Greek America is the intermarriage phenomenon, which at this point, according to serious sources, it can go up to 85%, in some communities even more. And I'm sure Professor Triantafillou and Dimitra Patronidou have experienced that. Now, let's take the multiculturalism and its impact. As you can see over here, I don't know if I can, the Census Bureau projects that the share of ethnic and racial minorities would reach 54% of the total population by 2042. And the America of 2050 will be quite different from the America of today, as cultural, ethnic, and racial characteristics continue to overlap. What is the impact on Greek America? It's congruent with the efforts of Greek America to conserve the ethnic culture. The increasing intermarriage may create new ethnic groups, which we would call multi-ethnics. It would generate a change or reinforce elements of Greek American identity. However, the need for maintaining one's culture and identity may significantly diminish. As you see, and what I said before, in order to defend these statements, I had to do a few years of research, which, as I mentioned before, besides the ποιοτική ανάλυση, the qualitative sources, I also had to supply and defend my thesis with quantitative. And of course, that took myself traveling to different parishes, interviewing people, distributing questionnaires, and doing some serious statistical data, which at this point, we don't have the time for me to show that, in order to be able to defend, in other words, the quantitative data to defend the qualitative data. So what happens is, what is our forecast from this study? And I mean, for sure, we can see a Greek America that would be more colorful. We already see that in our parishes, in our afternoon schools. We see more, would be more similarity with the rest of the American landscape, although it will keep some of its own characteristics. We're coming to this critical point, loss of language. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm in accord with Jim Logothetis, who was very brave to tell it like it is. And we can see that. We go to all these conferences and not a word of English is uttered. And a few times when some of us attempt to include some Greek, we see that many of our Greek American colleagues, they frown upon it. So having tried this several times, especially, I'm not talking about a story, it's a different situation, okay? But if you go outside of the tri-state area, you go to Pennsylvania, you go to some remote places, you have to use the English language. And I'm a proponent of that. I don't support that, let's say, in a church, where the church is the main ingredient that we still speak Greek. Whether it's good or bad, it's the truth. So, going down, we see here that the church plays a bigger role with the gradual disappearance of the Hellenic secular organizations. And who are the secular? What are the secular organizations? Yesterday, Dimitra and I attended a Pontian organization, and we had the opportunity to speak Greek and to dance Greek. These are becoming more rare. And I can attest to that I have been observing this for the last 50 years, as a participant, as an observer, as an activist. The Orthodox Church also undergoes a significant transition in becoming less Greek. And that will happen. The more we continue, the more we're going to see that. The Greek lobby will become less visible. I've seen that. Actually, next Sunday, I'm going to participate in a fundraiser which is part of the Greek lobby to support a certain individual who is a proponent of the national Hellenic issues. So there will be a continuous struggle to preserve our cultural characteristics. So I'm not going to go any further. That hopefully, as we progress, we'll be given the opportunity. And also, I have some thoughts that we feel from my research that will contribute maybe to something to stop this total loss, especially of the Hellenic language. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter, for that. This has been really a fascinating discussion, and thank you to all the participants. But there's different things, and culture changes. In other words, culture changes over time, and the use of the Hellenic language also can change over time. I mean, when you analyze, for example, the Hellenic state, the population of the Hellenic state is going further and further down in terms of the numbers. If you go, for example, into 2050, like you mentioned, somebody mentioned, there's only going to be 8 million people in Greece based on the current population statistics.
That's another topic to discuss.
Well, no, but it's linked to a certain degree because we're talking about the Hellenic language. You have within Hellas right now a significant population of people who are not culturally Hellenes, okay, who are learning the Hellenic language. What was mentioned before were people from China, people from Korea, which I find fascinating, are learning the language. So we're here to talk about the Hellenic language, but mostly here in the United States. And it seems to me that there were some very interesting conversations. Jim brought up certain things. And among the things I think, obviously Demosthenes and everybody else on the panel, but one of the things that Jim brought up is that there's no priorities. There's no priorities within the current large organizations to promote the speaking of the Hellenic language. There's no priorities. This is evident. This is evident certainly, as was discussed by some of these major Hellenic American platforms that have other priorities. They're not going to give money towards the Hellenic language or increasing the Hellenic language. What Jim brought up was an interesting thing, to create a new model basically, which and a new organization that raises funds and actually funds teachers and promotes the Hellenic language, not only to Hellenes, but also Phil-Hellenes, which I think is important. As Dimitra indicated, that it's very important for Hellenic language to also to be taught to others who will in fact support Hellenic issues in the Hellenic state as we go along. So these are fascinating. In terms of what you said, Peter, even the Archbishop himself, who was criticized for speaking English in certain locations, he said publicly, "What do you want me to do? I go to a place, how can I speak in the Hellenic language when in fact the people will not understand me where I am? So what's the point?"
He's right.
He's right. But at the same time, as you said, there are changes within the church itself. In other words, it also has over the decades gone away from the Hellenic language. We understand that the Hellenic language, as in terms of the liturgy, is the Kini, let's say, or a different type of Hellenic dialect, let's say, than we speak today. We're open right now, so anyone can speak, ask any questions to anybody. So we have an open discussion. So anyone, please bring up any issues that you thought were very interesting today.
Can I go first?
Of course, please.
Dr. Stavrianidis, what is the effect of the changes of Greek immigration toward the United States and the effect of the demographic changes?
Well, if I had the time, I could show the whole presentation. But of course, the last big wave from Greece came in the 60s. And it came, and that's when actually my family came. And it gave a new birth and a new beginning. But that has changed. That has stopped. There's no immigration from Greece. There was a few thousand in the 70s, a few thousand in the 80s, and ever since. Most of the people that come, they come for graduate or postgraduate studies, and most of them, they end up staying. So that said, and if we take the statistics, we can see clearly that we are the last generation, and I can say that responsibly, that we speak Greek. And I see, and my wife actually is the chair of the Greek School Committee in our church. And I can understand what it takes today to maintain the language in a home. In order for our 3 boys to learn Greek, besides we spoke Greek at home most of the time, but we have a tendency to speak Greek to them. But at the same time, we would go to Greece almost every year in the summer. So it takes effort. But when you have the intermarriages, when you have the mixed marriages, that creates a new, that's the evolution that I was talking about. And, 20 or 30 years ago, you might have, Professor Demosthenes, you might have individuals who are 1/3 Greek, 1/3 Hispanic, and 1/3 Irish. I'm just speaking different nationalities. The question is, the identity is συνείδηση. Which one, in order for this person to make a decision to go to the Greek parade, or to go to church, or to learn the language, one of these identities has to be prominent. That's where we have to create a situation, an environment. And of course, as I said before, whether it's good or bad, for me it's good. The Hellenic Church will play its major role. That's one thing. And the other thing is, being a student of history, there were times in the past that there were Hellenes that didn't speak the Hellenic language, but they were Greek Orthodox. And of course, being students of history and the Asia Minor genocide and catastrophe, etc., we know that the change of the populations occurred based on religion and not on language. And I'm not saying that to diminish the importance of language, but I'm saying that identity will play the major role before someone invested time to learn the language.
Peter, here's what I have to say to that in terms of ethnic identity and all the rest of that, mixed marriages or what have you. There's been studies actually on that, and what they found is, out of all the ethnic groups in the United States, there is no ethnic group that feels more, if they have even a percentage of Greek in them, there's no ethnic group that beats the Hellenic people in terms of believing that they are Greek, regardless of mixed marriages.
That's for sure.
There's been studies about this, as you know. There's been studies about this.
It doesn't change the numbers, though, Lou.
No, it doesn't change the numbers, but we're talking here about language. Okay, we're talking here about language, and the reality is, I think the reality is some of the things that Jim was talking about. I don't have a view that I believe the Hellenic language will disappear here unless we allow it to disappear.
Well, I studied it scientifically, and the numbers don't lie.
Yes, but the numbers, listen. There may be, in my opinion, there may be less Hellenic speakers within Hellas itself. How about that? The language itself is changing within Hellas. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead, Demosthenes.
Here's my problem.
Yeah.
I have to be sincere with you.
Yes, please.
The quality, the improvement of the educational system sometimes comes in conflict with the archdiocese. Let me just put it very simply. Any effort to take control of the educational system away from the Greek archdiocese will have to fight. This happened when first the Greek government came up with the concept of the coordinator. The Greek archdiocese was against it. The Greek archdiocese did not want the coordinator's office to be established in the Proxenio, in the Greek consulate. Now, Mr. Logothetis has been involved in the Greek archdiocese all these years in the finances. He has not taken an initiative. The reason, I think, is that the archdiocese will never allow him to do it. Now, he's moving away from the archdiocese, and he is now initiating something. But I guarantee you, this initiative will not be supported by the archdiocese unless the archdiocese has control of the educational system.
Yeah, but what's become interesting in the conversation, and Jim basically brought it out, is he believes that if it's left the way it is, as Peter would say, the language is slowly going to disappear within Hellenes in the United States. He was talking about a different model that he believed could survive, and he believed to a certain degree that the archdiocese cannot be a part of that, because what was indicated was the funds that are raised are not raised towards Hellenic education. So he's saying it very clearly that it cannot survive unless a new system is set up where schools, money, teachers, etc., are brought into play. And he's saying there was certain things like Leadership 100. They started with a few $1 million. Now they've got $100 and some odd million that he talked about. And he was saying that the only way the Hellenic language is really going to start to grow back and survive is through a different system. That's what he was saying.
I agree with you. One more question. This is very critical, and I'm going to put you on the spot. AHEPA, the letters stand for American Hellenic Educational. And I'm asking you, what financial support to the Greek school, the teachers, all these problems that we are talking about, AHEPA hasn't been active, and it has the name in the title, American Hellenic Educational. Now, well, I know they have trips to Greece. I went twice as a supervisor of the AHEPA youth group. They give scholarships. But the issues that we are talking about, the essential issues of the real Greek-American educational system, somehow has been foreign to AHEPA. Am I right?
Well, listen, I don't speak for AHEPA, okay, but I can say a few things, okay. Historically, AHEPA, on purpose, did not want to speak the Hellenic language at their meetings. This was part of the origin of AHEPA. The origin of AHEPA was historically that they wanted to be part of the American system, to be accepted by Americans as Americans. On purpose, they did not want to have the meetings to be spoken in the Hellenic language, only in English. And AHEPA was also for Hellenes and Philhellenes. I mean, that's the history. People can say whatever they want, but that's the history. I know the history of AHEPA. Having said that, hold it. Having said that, because don't forget, I'm a former governor of AHEPA in New York, which was the largest, and still is, by the way, the largest AHEPA, let's say, district in the world, actually. So, but I can say more recently, the funding that they've received, actually by contributions, and the program to allow people to go to Greece, I think is a very positive one in terms of promoting the Hellenic language.
Definitely.
I will say also that some of the past presidents, etc., because of the fact that they were born abroad, they have also introduced, and people are speaking more the Hellenic language, etc. But we cannot. But AHEPA is not the organization that can promote what we're talking about right now for many reasons. For many reasons.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Peter.
Let me say something, because I've been a member of HEPA, I think 45 years, and I was a member of the Hermes chapter in Astoria, which then was a huge chapter.
It was
the biggest chapter, and I'm not even sure if Delphi existed then. You know,
Delphi existed for a long period of time.
Every time.
And besides, you had Telly Savalas. And you had who else? You had some other actor in the.
Yes, we did. But every time I made an attempt to speak about the Hellenic issues, which fortunately, as you correctly said, the past 10, 20 years, AHEPA is involved with, at the time they didn't even want to speak about that because they claimed it was political. And that really had turned me off. And for many, many years, I was paying my dues, but I wasn't actively involved until the last 10, 20 years when people like you and Savas and other people were involved. But let me go back to the Hellenic language. I believe, and again, I'm saying that, and statistics show that if it wasn't for the church, the Hellenic language would almost be lost completely. Let me finish my thought. Because any attempt by the secular people, lay people, and I'm one of them, to create another organization outside of the church, and not actually outside of the church, in conjunction with the church. There was a time that we had seen the Archbishop Dimitrios and made a proposal about the Hellenic College to become a college like Brandeis, which is a Jewish college, or St. John's, which is a Catholic. But at the time, there was no desire from the church, and there were some serious people, the late Christos Tomaras and the Athens and some other people who might be interested at the time. But still, today, we have the church, and we have a few other organizations, and that's it. So what I propose.
But Peter, let me add a couple of things. Let me add a couple of things. Okay, that there's no doubt that the church has been extremely important in the language being carried forward. You had 400 years of occupation in different areas, so there's no doubt that the church was there, but also civil society was there. We had schools. Okay, we talk about Krifas and all the rest of that, but the reality is there weren't. The concept of Krifas, I'm not going to say it didn't exist, but Hellenic education always took place within Hellas. No one stopped the teaching of the Hellenic language, okay? In terms of the university that you were talking about, to convert, the college in Brookline to a university, Archbishop Elpidoforos came out with that statement just recently, by the way, where he said he wants to bring it and raise it up to the university level.
Which is great.
What I found interesting about what Jim said was that why don't you, while you're doing that, okay, for seminarians and all the rest of that, why don't you, in fact, create a school to teach the Hellenic language so it could be spread within America? Signomi pedia. Dimitra, we have left you to the side. Please bring up whatever you want to bring up. And Aggeliki, please join the conversation.
Yes, I would like to say something because I have to leave you. I have a new meeting at 4:00, and I'm so sorry. The webinar is so exciting for me. I would like to say this. it is a fact that assimilation is the inevitable, the natural course of history. We can't deny that. We cannot, can we? For me personally, the fact that we are here, you understand, your children understand Greek. It's a miracle. And I believe that everybody, every association, the church, of course, all of you helped for this miracle. And now we must be stronger and braver, because we have a new challenge, an international day, an international Greek day. So we must keep fighting all together. And I have hope. I do have. Thank you so much for this invitation. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you so much for loving the Greek language.
Thank you so much, Dimitra, for being with us today. Thank you. Thank you.
Still here? Aggeliki still here?
I think so. Aggeliki, where are you? Where's Aggeliki?
Εδώ είμαι, παρακολουθώ με πολύ προσοχή. Είναι ένα πολύ
I
φλέγον
know it's
θέμα.
late over there, Aggeliki. I know it's late. Our apology.
Κυρία Αγγελική, πώς μπορεί ένα σχολείο να προμηθευτεί το πρόγραμμα Ελληνόπουλα ή ένας ιδιώτης?
Έχει μία επικοινωνία με το κεντρικό της πλατφόρμας που υπάρχει το support και θα επικοινωνήσετε και θα μπορέσουν να σας δώσουν στοιχεία και ως ιδιώτης και με το σχολείο. Τα υποστηρίζουμε όλα και με πολύ χαρά γι' αυτό το λόγο παρουσίασα σήμερα και κάτι πρωτοπόρο. Έχει βραβευτεί παγκοσμίως με το Platinum βραβείο, 3 χρυσά, 3 χρόνια και ένα Platinum από την αγάπη για την ελληνική γλώσσα. Εγώ τώρα να πω από μία άλλη πλευρά μου, ως συγγραφέας βιβλίων για παιδιά, που βέβαια εμείς ζούμε στην Ελλάδα και γράφουμε βιβλία για παιδιά, έχουμε έτσι ένα όραμα με μία άλλη συγγραφέα και έχουμε ξεκινήσει και γράφουμε μία σειρά βιβλία όπου προσπαθούμε να αναδείξουμε ελληνικές λέξεις διεθνείς και παίζουμε με αυτό, δηλαδή κάθε βιβλίο είναι μία σειρά 5 βιβλία. Τα γράφουμε τώρα, ακόμα δεν έχουμε βρει ούτε εκδότη ούτε τι θα κάνουμε, και να είναι δίγλωσσα ελληνικά, αγγλικά, αλλά η λέξη που στα ελληνικά, η ελληνική που έχει γίνει στα αγγλικά, να είναι χρωματισμένη για να μπορέσουν τα παιδιά σε όλο τον κόσμο, όχι μόνο τα Ελληνόπουλα αλλά και οι φιλέλληνες, να καταλάβουν τη μεγάλη σημασία της ελληνικής γλώσσας. Συνεχίζετε να μιλάτε ελληνικά, προσπαθήστε το όσο μπορείτε, και για να μπορέσουν τα παιδιά και τα εγγόνια να καταλαβαίνουν τη φιλοσοφία της ελληνικής γλώσσας και των νοημάτων, χρειάζεται λίγο να αγωνιστούμε όλοι και να βοηθήσουμε και εμείς όπου μπορούμε. Αγαπάμε την ελληνική γλώσσα, ό,τι χρειαστείτε εγώ είμαι στη διάθεσή σας σαν Αγγελική πέρα από την πλατφόρμα να βοηθήσω και να στηρίξω. Εξάλλου γι' αυτό έκανα και ένα ταξίδι πριν 1 χρόνο στην Αμερική, εκπαίδευσα τους δασκάλους, τους Έλληνες δασκάλους που βρίσκονται στα σχολεία τα πρωινά, τα βραδινά. Νομίζω ότι ό,τι μπορούμε ο καθένας το κάνει από την πλευρά του. Αυτό που με λυπεί και εμένα και το διαπίστωσα και απόψε είναι ότι δεν νοιάζεται το Ελληνικό Υπουργείο Παιδείας να στηρίξει τους Έλληνες στο εξωτερικό όπως πρέπει. Δηλαδή να στείλει περισσότερους δασκάλους, να τους επιμορφώσει, να στηρίξει. Η μισή Ελλάδα είναι έξω πλέον και το λέμε συνέχεια αυτό. Λοιπόν, κάντε ό,τι μπορείτε και εμείς από εδώ ό,τι μπορούμε να βοηθήσουμε. Εύχομαι να μην σβήσει η ελληνική γλώσσα. Από τον Όμηρο μέχρι σήμερα μιλάμε τις ίδιες λέξεις, καταλαβαίνουμε τα ίδια νοήματα και αγωνιζόμαστε.
Δεν θα σβήσει ποτέ. But it's getting late. It's getting late in Athens. So what we're going to do is wrap it up, and we're going to start with Demosthenes. Demosthenes, some final thoughts, ideas, concepts.
Το πρόγραμμα της κυρίας Αγγελικής, με βάση από ό,τι γνωρίζω σχετικά με όλα τα προγράμματα που έχουν βγει μέχρι τώρα, είναι το καλύτερο πρόγραμμα. Και νομίζω τα σχολεία εδώ θα ωφεληθούν πάρα πολύ εάν το έχουν ως συμπληρωματικό πρόγραμμα, γιατί ξέρετε κυρία Αγγελική, εάν το πρόγραμμά σας, όπως φαίνεται, είναι τόσο πολύ καλό και τα παιδιά αρχίζουν και μαθαίνουν διαδικτυακά, δεν θα πάνε στο ελληνικό σχολείο πλέον.
Όχι, όχι. Δεν είναι έτσι. Δεν είναι έτσι. Είναι βοηθητικό. Είναι βοηθητικό. Δεν είναι...
Ως βοηθητικό. Συμφωνώ απόλυτα. Και αυτό το πρόγραμμά σας, πώς έρχεται σε σύγκρουση ή συμπληρωματική, θα λέγαμε, προσπάθεια με το πρόγραμμα του Υπουργείου Εξωτερικών. Υπάρχει και ένα άλλο πρόγραμμα του Υπουργείου Εξωτερικών.
Στα ελληνικά.
Ναι.
Νομίζω ότι στα ελληνικά έχουν πάρα πολύ ωραία βίντεο και πολύ ωραία παρουσιάζουν κάποια πράγματα, αλλά δεν έχουν δομημένα μαθήματα εκμάθησης της ελληνικής. Είναι από ό,τι έχω δει και βέβαια εσείς τα ξέρετε καλύτερα. Συμπορεύονται και μάλιστα είχαμε κάνει και μία συνάντηση με τον Υφυπουργό Εξωτερικών πριν λίγα χρόνια να συμπορευτούμε. Λίγο αυτό χάθηκε στην πορεία. Δηλαδή νομίζω το ένα συμπληρώνει τ' άλλο, απλά εδώ είναι δομημένα γραμματική και συντακτικό, όχι μόνο μέσα από τις εικόνες και τα βίντεο, και γι' αυτό έχουμε και την παιχνιδοποίηση, μαθαίνουμε γραμματική, συντακτικό και λέξεις παίζοντας. Εσείς ξέρετε, θα το δείτε, θεωρώ ότι όλα συμβάλλουν για την στήριξη της ελληνικής γλώσσας. Δεν είμαστε απέναντι, συμπορευόμαστε.
Κυρία, χαρητήρια για την όμορφη προσπάθεια αυτή, την πρωτοβουλία. Διδάσκετε με το παράδειγμά σας, συγκαταλέγεστε μεταξύ των καλύτερων δασκάλων, διότι ένας καλός δάσκαλος διδάσκει με το παράδειγμά του. Και το έχετε αποδείξει σε όλους τους οργανισμούς που έχετε ανακαλυφθεί. Και μια τελευταία μου ερώτηση στην κυρία Δήμητρα. Είναι εδώ η κυρία Δήμητρα?
Δεν είναι εδώ, έχει φύγει.
Εντάξει.
Okay, Peter, some final thoughts before we head out, and we allow Aggeliki to go to sleep.
First of all, I want to congratulate you again because you are one of the most passionate Hellenes of the diaspora, and I've said that many times, and I've given you, I call you Eupatridis. Με όλη τη σημασία της λέξης.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Και θα ήθελα να μιλήσω λίγο γλυκά, μην ξεχνάμε και τη γλώσσα, ότι τα δεδομένα αυτά που έδωσα λόγω της ακαδημαϊκής μου έρευνας δεν είναι κάτι που παρουσιάζουν ένα σε εισαγωγικά σκοτεινό ουρανό. Είναι μια πραγματικότητα. So, Greek America will not vanish. But it would change. It would change. The church, as I said before, will remain our most resilient institution. Yet it will evolve. More English, more non-Greek members, a broader Orthodox identity. The question is whether Hellenism will continue to enrich that spiritual home. And if civic participation declines, our public voice will weaken. So what do? We move from survival to transmission, build comprehensive heritage education that does not depend on language alone. Invest in children of intermarried families. Make parish life a stronger engine of youth formation. Revitalize secular organizations and civic leaderships, and strengthen the pillars that sustain continuity, faith, Hellenic studies, public engagement, leadership, and the enduring inspiration of Greek history and civilization. A forecast is not fate. If we commit to transmission, not just admiration, Greek America can remain a living inheritance.
Thank you for that, Peter, and thank you to all the panelists. This was a fascinating discussion. There are changes everywhere, okay? When we talk about assimilation, and Dimitra mentioned assimilation in terms of what happens in America, let's face it, there's assimilation happening in Hellas right now. They've been a part of the EU over a period of time, and there's been changes in the country where the language started. So I have high hopes for the Hellenic language, because after listening to you guys, after listening to Jim, after thinking thinking about all these different concepts and thought processes, etc. I feel we can do it not only with Hellenes, but also Philhellenes, okay? Because Philhellenes become very important also in terms of supporting the Hellenic Republic and certainly supporting the language. So thank you again. We have to continue this discussion, not only just on International Greek Language Day, but this is a discussion that we have to dive into and talk about it more than once and continue to talk about it because I think it's an important topic. Thank you and good evening to you, Aggeliki.
Ευχαριστούμε. Ευχαριστούμε
And
πολύ.
to the rest of you, thank you again for being a part of this excellent discussion. Thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Ευχαριστούμε
Thank you so
και
much.
όλους.
Thank you. Thank you.